the question in my mind came about as to why do you have soaring stock markets in the US and yet a government that seems to be turning its back on ideas of free trade and globalization. Whereas in Asia you had quite lackluster stock markets and yet politicians that were embracing free trade and globalization. And I think the answer is quite simple. The workers' share of growth in the US has been on the decline, whereas in Asia the workers' share has been on the rise. So that has allowed corporate profits in the US to expand and corporate profits to be squeezed in Asia. And so that you've had this strange mix of anti-market rhetoric and strong stock markets in the US and the opposite in Asia. Or I do think that trend is coming to an end. We're not seeing the wage rises come through quite as strongly in Asia. You're seeing the earnings coming through this year up 7% just in the first 6 months. So I suspect we're seeing that picture play the other way now. I'd be quite hopeful that we could get several years now of pretty decent earnings growth from the Asian corporates, and that should support the stock markets.
So does that mean you would be rotating money out of the US into Asia?
Well, we don't run any money in the US at all. We're just purely focused on Asia. But what I can say is when I speak to global clients, I would say that there hasn't been much movement yet amongst those clients in the USA. In Europe, we've seen some people start to allocate back into Asia, although I say the majority of people are still underweight in their models. We're seeing that money largely come from the US, but also some people taking a little bit out of European markets to allocate towards Asia. But I think we're just at the beginning of that kind of trend.